say that after you guys
Let's continue.
after we left U of L for football for undergrad, you guys went out to make your fortunes, and I stayed in school for another 6 years as I went to dental school, and then at the university, of course, and then I specialized in orthodontics, which I practiced 40 years. Moved back to E-Town and practiced there. I also had an office in Glasgow and in Campbellsville. And later on, you remember Susie? She, my high school sweetheart. We married and still married, and I had 3 sons. And our oldest son, Greg, who was actually born while I was there playing football, he did the same thing. Went to the University of Louisville, dental school and ortho school, and we practiced together for 20 years, which was amazing. And so I just retired this year, and so I've got everything a man would need but a job, and so I'm good. And so I'll turn it over. Who's next, Matt?
Okay, hold on. All right. I guess I'm next. And unfortunately, Davey Norris just called me and said he can't get onto the Zoom and just proceed without it. So he will have to see this when we send it out. Sorry, Dave. I know you've been instrumental in this whole thing. Hey, it's Jim Kazmarek. And I have to thank Tom Jesikaitis, because Tom introduced me to my wife on a blind date about a month after our Pasadena Bowl game. And we've been happily married. This will be 49 years coming in November. So thank you, Tom. I certainly appreciate that. I still don't know what she was thinking when she said yes. That was a major thing. I was in teaching and coaching for 42 years. I was a classroom teacher, a PE teacher, guidance counselor for 20-some years. Yes, believe it or not, a guidance counselor. I was a interim assistant principal. I was a summer school principal. I was an interim dean of students. And I was a head football coach for 20 years and assistant coach at different schools for about 10 years. So I kind of kept my finger involved with football for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, I got out of school. I tried to play ball for a couple of years. I got into teaching. And I taught biology for 20 years, and PE for 9, and coached. I coached with Wally Euler, then I coached at Fern Creek, I coached at Mayo, and I coached at Butler. And after that, let's see, my last year of school, I had an accident. Spent 5 weeks in a coma. So I recovered from that pretty good, considering I was dead for 5 weeks. But I've been getting better ever since, trying to at least. I've been married to Pam for 47 years now. And she takes care of everything around here practically. Takes care of my grandkids, for one thing.
How many you have, John?
I got 3 sons.
3 grandsons.
And another grandson on the way. My son's wife is 4 months pregnant, and it's another boy. So I got 4 boys, and I'll be chasing them around, I guess, when I get the legs under me. And that's about it for me.
Thanks, John. Amos, I think you're up next.
Yeah, I think y'all know I played ball for 5 years with the Vikings and 1 year with Seattle. Busted my knee up. That was sort of the end of it. But I'd started a building business, so I was in the construction buildings business for the last 40 years. Actually, built some houses during the off season, so did that. I sort of semi-retired about 3 or 4 years ago, and just picking away at it right now. I've got a house to build for a friend, and some old clients that call me about a porch or a basement remodel. So we're picking away. We just moved out to the Cardinal Club in a little smaller home out there in that section. And I don't play golf anymore. I hurt we moved to the polo fields a few years ago, and I busted, my back went out. So I couldn't play golf anymore, but I think I'm going to come back. I'm going to get the leg back, and then I'm going to get the back. So I'll be golf ball. So the heart as well, it was sort of a loop. They had a apparently some plaque broke loose in one of my arteries that clogged the whole thing. It's called a widowmaker heart attack. So I was in coma. I was basically like you, John. I was out for 4 days, and praise the Lord, I came back, and just glad to be here. Good leg or no leg. So it's good to be with you guys.
It's good to be around.
Good to be here.
All right, Larry, you're up next.
Well, left school. Some of you guys went a year before me, and left school and I played ball in the league for 7 years. Came back, finished my master's. I was in Louisville from January to May, and it was just gray and dismal. And Drew and I said, "That's it." We went back to Florida, and we both worked in the school system down there for 32. Well, I worked for 32, 33 years. She worked for 30. Got one son, Avery. He's a school psychologist now. I was a counselor too, Kaz, reality counselor. So, but still deal with the alumni group down there. We still do a lot with kids charities down in Florida. I'm retired for a few years, and Kaz called us up and talked about this thing last year. It was so exciting. I run into Johnny Godbolt down in Florida. I play some senior softball, so I run into Johnny Godbolt. Got a hold of Horace and Scaling's down there, and Cookie spent his last couple of years down there with me in Miami, and got to see him and play golf with him quite a bit. So it was a blessing to get to be with a couple of those guys and continue seeing them over the years and stay in touch with Kratz and Jess and Kaz and you guys. It's great. Love it.
Thanks, Larry. Gary Barnes, you're up.
Hey guys, hey, pleasure to see all of you. It's a heartwarming. This is great. This is friggin' great. Now it's nice with my language. I'm in my man cave right now. Everything you can't see it all, but everything down here is U of L. Even on the back wall it says man cave U of L. Yeah, they stuck with me. I taught school for 10 years, coached at Oldham County High School, where my grandson is a junior, and Kaz knows more about him. He is a quarterback. He's damn good. He is damn good. He is 6'4", 150. 180. He was all district as a freshman. So he's going to be pretty good. They're looking at him at Purdue, Cincinnati, Miami of Ohio, and I think Kentucky. We're not worried about that one. The other son, the grandson, I've got 5 grandkids. I got 5 grandkids. Anyway, the other one's at Union College. He's a wide receiver, ironically. My granddaughter is 22. She's a U of L. She is in sports psychology, ironic. The other 2 is 6 years old and 4 years old. So I've got 5 of them. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Suzanne, who you guys know. We both have retired. I retired from a company called MPC Promotions that did the promotions for University of Louisville. From the president's office all the way down to guys who cut the grass. Crazy. You've seen some of my stuff when you saw a red out, a blackout, a white. That was us. It was all U of L. It was crazy. When Lamar Jackson won the Heisman, we did shirts for him. We did 25,000 shirts just for that occasion. And Heisman came back and wanted to sue us because of the royalty. Instead of saying Heisman, I went Heisman 8 without the S in it. So they couldn't screw with us. Kaz and I stick around pretty good. We've gone to dinner a couple times. Life is good. I've had some setbacks too, just like everybody else. I've had 2 heart attacks. And I still got problems with my lower legs. I bought my wife a new lawnmower. We live in Indian Hills. So it's a 4-power thing so she can ride it and I can watch and drink beer.
You're a romantic.
But things are so good. And it's a pleasure again to see all you great people. You're part of my life.
You are too, buddy.
Next.
Thanks, Gary. That was really cool. I think next is Tom. You're up.
Hey, let's see. What's up, guys? Well, I played for the Chicago Bears for 5 years until Gale Sayers came, and I thought, well, maybe I better leave. But no kidding. I got out of school, and I went into the car business, And I was in the car business for about 40 years. I was salesman, manager, general manager. The only trouble with getting to the top in the car business, though, is one thing. You only have one next step, and that's out. So the car business kind of was a tough business to be in, but it was good. I made some good money, and it was okay. I've got two sons. I've got Jace and Trent. One's 32, the other one's 42, and I also got two grandchildren from my older son, Trent, Eva and Leo. So they're the level of my life. As far as and my wife. Oh yeah, my wife's going crazy. And my wife Addie was the best thing that I ever did, really. I got married first, then I got divorced after about 8 years from my first marriage. And I was single for about 10 years. Being single when you're 30 is just crazy times, really. I mean, if I didn't meet Annie and get married, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. She's my anchor and she does a great job. Is that good, Annie? She gave me a thumbs up on that. So. But everything else is going pretty good with me. I did have colon surgery about 10 years ago. I thought I was going to die. No problem. I recovered from that. And I've had knee replacement too. So, my life has gone pretty well. And I'm an avid Cardinal fan. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the films today. Because really my junior year that we're going to look at, I'm going to say this real quick. I didn't play for the first 3 games. I didn't hardly even play. It was just a strange season for me, even though as the season progressed, I just started getting more opportunities to play. So it was really a crazy season. Okay, that's it for me.
Thanks,
Good for
Tom.
you.
From one Tom to the next, Tom Edlin.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Tommy,
glad you made it.
Good to see everybody. I've been an accountant for since 1973 when I graduated in December of 72 from U of L. Still practicing. I'm going to keep practicing until I get it right. So everything's going good. I've got 2 boys, Danny and Aaron. They're 45 and 43. Got a stepson, Deuce, who's 45. And my wife, Linda. And I got a couple grandkids that pretty good athletes. They're good basketball players. And one of them was a starting point guard as a freshman for Ballard this year, averaged, I think about 12 points a game. So I spent a lot of time other than working. I'm down here in Florida right now and in Estero, Florida, and I hope to hook up with Gary here in the next 3 or 4 days and see if we can't get together. I spent a lot of years running a Hikes Point Lobos youth football program. And I'm just right now, other than working, coming down here in Florida, playing golf. Enjoy watching the grandkids play golf and play basketball. When we graduated from college, I would think that I'm the first one that everybody thought would have a heart attack. And I seem to be the only one that hadn't had one, thank God. So for some reason, God's allowed me to stay healthy, unless you all know something that I don't know. And that's pretty much an update on me.
Thanks, Tom. That's great. Is that Dave down there?
I'm here. Finally.
All right, Dave.
All right.
Technology wizard, here we are.
Hold that camera still, North.
I can't, man. Bright and smiley there, Amos. Larry, how you doing? I'll be real quick since I joined kind of late. Most of you guys know my wife, Mary Ruth. We've been married for about 51 plus years now. Have 2 wonderful sons, ages 48 and 45. The younger one, unfortunately, moved to Atlanta this about 2 years ago. So we got some miles on our car and airplane miles going to and from Atlanta to see them and their 3 grandkids. And the other son here in Louisville has a son and a daughter. The son, as it turns out, is a sophomore at University of Cincinnati, of all places. But he's doing fine. We're all doing fine. I worked in public accounting, private accounting for, 48, 49 years, retired a couple of years ago. It paid the bills. It wasn't exciting most of the time, but what the heck. And I also have a new knee, a new right knee, thanks to good doctor here in town. Got it in June, and it's working pretty good so far. So that's it. I'm a Sunday hacker. Amos knows that. Gary knows that. And try to do better next time. That's it.
Thanks, Dave. And then who do we have down here on the bottom?
Sanders?
I don't know. We seem to have lost Francis.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he was in a bar. I think he took
Somebody
off.
got mad. Somebody got mad at him at the bar.
His
That was all the background noise.
screen went higher and higher on his head until he disappeared.
John.
Well, now that we've made the introductions, I'm going to turn things over to Jim and let him lead the way and with the discussion about the team and the season. And guys, it's been great hearing all these stories, and I'm looking forward to hear some more. So thank you all for participating tonight.
Thanks, Matt.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks,
You did a
Matt.
good job, dude. Good job.
Well, and let me just kind of give you an idea of where we're at and what we're doing and where we're going to go. So back in April of 2019, Dave Morris and I, believe it or not, were playing in a golf scramble for the School of Music at U of L. And we talked about doing this, that it's going to be 50 years coming up in 2020, and we really needed to do this. So he agreed to help and suggested that we get Amos and Gary and Tommy Edlin involved with it also. So out of the kindness of their heart or stupidity, they agreed to get involved and help us out also. We picked Dave and I met with the university people. We picked the September 26th game with Western Kentucky as the game. We got discounted hotel rooms, a Friday banquet, a Saturday tailgate, a stadium suite, introductions. I've worked very hard to find all the contact information for all the different players. And this whole process, by the way, has been a labor of love. Just getting back in touch with all the players has just been one of the neatest things ever. And then in March of 2020, of course, COVID-19 hit. Everything is put on hold until maybe next year we have a 51-year reunion. And if it doesn't happen next year, we're going to have a 52-year reunion. So we're really hoping that next year we get the 51-year reunion. All the guys are going to receive a virtual reunion stuff as we get closer to December 19th. We have a lot of different things planned. Coach Corso has sent everyone a nice message. Coach Shands has sent everybody a nice message. And shortly, we're going to get involved with Coach Katopoulos and have him take a nice message for everybody also. Give you an idea of what we did. Dave Norris searched through all the Courier Journal archives to find articles about all of our games and made copies of those. And then we made big posters that we were going to have them posted Friday night at the banquet throughout the room. Amos made all the arrangements for all of our food for the banquet. And the good thing about that was we got a couple free lunches out of it too. So that was Tommy worked with contacting the L Club, and the L Club was kind enough to sponsor all the money for our Friday night banquet. Of course, Gary has now handled all the arrangements for tonight's meeting. Neil Boynton is the one who put together the scrapbook. I think most of you already have that copy of that scrapbook, but that'll come out again.
I lost the video.
Did all that work. Joe Watzik donated some of his pictures. Gary Barnes is going to work with the athletics department to supply us with polo shirts with the Pasadena logo. And more importantly, Gary has actually been a holder of this. If you can't see it, it is actually the Pasadena Bowl trophy. And on it, it says Pasadena Bowl 1970, University of Louisville versus Long Beach State. Gary's had this in his possession for a long time. And he passed it on to me, and I've had it hidden under lock and key right by the smoke detector. And I said, if our house catches on fire, Janice, the dog, and then the trophy gets out of the house first.
Get that first.
So that's kind of where we are right now. And so I guess now, Gary, you're going to kind of take so the idea is, guys, we're still going to do this. We're going to do it in person. We're going to do it at a ball game. The university has agreed to continue their support of this. I just spoke to one of their representatives this morning, and she is in complete agreement that we continue doing this in 2021. And if it's not then, it's 2022.
Well, Cass,
Larry, it's up to you. You're going to direct us now.
yeah, Cass, thank you so much for all this work you've done has been just amazing. And I know everybody on the committee, Amos and Dave and Tommy, everybody's just done a great job. And you know, if I had to guess, if I had to say, what would you hope would come out of this? I would hope that all of our teammates would just, when they see it, they say, I've got to go to that reunion and be there in person. And no matter what position you played or what role you played on that team, 50 years later, we just want to see your face and talk to you and bring back memories and stories and just hopefully that would probably be the last time we could all get together. But we sure would hope our teammates will all show up. So anyway, we thought we'd go down. The first game we started that season, we of course was Florida State. I'll talk a little bit about my perspective on Florida State. You know, actually, the heir apparent on the quarterback position was obviously going to be John Medea, and I tried to get Corso as much as I could to start out the season with John as quarterback, but for some reason he didn't want to do that. So John, you remember, I started that game at quarterback, and I was feeling pretty good about our chances until Tommy Edlin came into me right before the game and whispered in my ear and said, "Do you know that we're 35-point underdogs?" And I said, "What? 35 points? They must gonna kill us." And so, but as the game went on, we all got to feeling more confident and we got better. And of course, we know that we missed an opportunity there. We ran the ball down the field at the end of the game and just, had a couple field goals blocked. One other funny story, and then I'm going to turn it over to whoever else would like to tell their memories, was we all remember when we were lining up to kick the field goal and they blocked it and they were offsides, and then they blocked it again. But when I stuck my hand out, I didn't realize that Kaz, I had forgotten that he was a center. And I was the holder. And so when I stuck my hand out, my hand was shaking like that. And I said, "Man, I must be nervous or something, And so I said, "Kaz, could you see my hand underneath your butt?" And he said, "Yeah." He was laughing too. He said, "I thought, damn, he must be really nervous." So anyway, I have that memory, but I think we should have won that game. We had them on their heels and we just let them go. Who else wants to chime in about that Florida State game?
I got a couple things.
Go ahead, Davey.
All right. The first thing, personally, it was my first time being in Florida. And if you recall, the day before the game, it was about, 112 degrees and 98% humidity. We couldn't go out of our rooms unless we were at practice or a meeting or a meal or something like that. And then I'm not sure who did this. Maybe it was Jim Bible. I'm not sure. Put ice in sandwich bags and stuck them inside our helmets during the game so we'd stay cool.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that too.
It lasted about 3 minutes. I'm not sure if it lasted that long. That was the ice in the helmet game. I remember on Florida State's first possession, my good buddy Amos, former roommate, tipped the ball on their first pass, tipped the ball right up in the air, it fell in my hands, and I caught it. That was a minor miracle. And I ran with the ball down to about, 20-yard line or something like that. And we were feeling good about that moment in time. And then unfortunately, our offense kind of gave it back to them, and the rest of the game. I do remember watching the film of that game and noticing Tom Jackson at the end of the game on the second blocked field goal. And I guess he was one of the side protectors, how he ran down the field and ran this guy down who must have had a 15-yard head start on him, tackling him on about the 4-yard line as time ran out. That was an incredible effort by an incredible athlete, Tom Jackson. those 2 block field goals were absolutely the biggest bummers of my career at U of L, and probably a lot of other people's. I know we had them right there, and just couldn't pull it off. That's my memories of Florida State.
I thought it was 3 field goals that they got. The
That's
block.
exactly what I remember, John.
I
I think they blocked one
2,
early
They
on.
blocked 2, and we missed 1.
Yep.
Well, I'm talking about the 2 at the very end, 2 at the last minute of the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There were 3.
Yeah, just 2.
John, you're right. We had a field goal earlier in like the second quarter that was short. We didn't make it.
Oh, well, I thought there was 3 at the end. And I was thinking that penalties are moving us closer. That's good,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
But
Didn't
yeah,
turn in our favor.
let you tell us about it, because that was kind of a breakout for you.
Yeah, I think, John, you and I think I played maybe the first series or 2, and then you came in and
Yep.
and you did a good job. So
I don't even remember that. I remember he put me in a shotgun position because I'm so slow, I guess. I remember doing that a couple times. That's all the memories I have of that game were being in the shotgun and missing field goals.
Bill Gaddy, of course, was very instrumental in that game. And when we got the ball back at the end, we had to go the whole length of the field just about with very little time left.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a couple minutes, I guess. And so his signature play was that trap up the middle. And we ran that thing, and he was wide open, just took off and went about, I don't know. I'm guessing, Dave, you've seen the film. Is it 40 yards or something like that? And
It's a good chunk. Yeah.
Yeah. And he just moved us. We went down the field in no time. And I remember Coach Corso calling timeout. And I said, "What are you thinking?" Because that allowed them to regroup. But, he said, "We're going to kick a field goal." Okay, that's good. I've had a touchdown. So anyway, anybody else on Florida State?
Yeah, the best thing about Florida State, this is Gary, was the trip. Think about this. You guys before us played in Cardinal Stadium. So
Oops.
it was sad to play in compared to where we went on sitting in hotels, coming on planes, going into nice places, big stadiums. So it's like, wow, this is the real McCoy. Think about that. Cardinal Stadium, I mean, with its Astro Mud and all the other stuff, you got to play like Amos got to play with the Vikings in great stadiums. That was the first stadium I think you guys, along with myself as a sophomore, saw some really nice situations. And if I'm not mistaken, somebody dropped a touchdown pass with 2 minutes to go. And I don't know who it was, but you'll see the film.
Don't go there, Gary.
Yeah.
And if I could interject for just a minute, one of the things we're going to send out to all the teammates is Dave Norris got a copy of the game film.
Great.
And he had it transferred to a CD. He gave me the CD. The fellow that I work with that does the play-by-play of the high school football games that we broadcast has done a make-believe television broadcast of that game. And when you see it, you'll swear that it was televised on NBC. So that's one of the things we're going to be sending out to our players.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, listen, we got a lot of games to go through, so let's move on to September 19th. We went to Southern Illinois, and I don't remember much about it. Does anybody have recollection of the Southern Illinois game? We lost that game, by the way. And it was at Carbondale. I do remember that bus trip, and I hated that.
Yeah.
But, anybody have a memory of the Southern Illinois?
That's why we lost.
I remember standing on the sideline and somebody threw a whiskey bottle down and hit whoever was standing. I didn't have my helmet on. And whoever was standing next to me, it bounced off his head and went out to midfield. Of course, I ran out and got it and brought it back.
I know Coach was not very happy.
day.
And I think he gave us a couple of dollars to eat. He told us he we had a half an hour to get back on the bus, and the bus was leaving, and if we weren't on it, we'd have to hitchhike back home. I do remember that.
So we lost 31-28. So it must have been a pretty good game, but I swear I just don't have much memory of that one. How about you, Amos? You remember that thing?
Nope.
You were the defensive captain, I know, and they scored 31 points. What's up with that?
Hey, Gary, this is Dave.
I told y'all ahead of time, my brain cells, I've lost too many, you know. Some of this stuff, I don't even remember the game, much less what happened.
Amos, Gary, let me answer that for you. They had a stud on their offensive line, tight end named Lionel Antoine,
Oh,
6'6", 260. And whenever they wanted a first down, they just ran the ball right behind him. He just wiped out 2-3 players and they'd run on down the field. That was it. Did that the whole game.
Yeah, well, maybe we were wanting to forget that. So September 26th, we were back home in Cardinal Stadium. We beat North Texas State 13-2. And you remember what they did to us the year before. So that was a good victory. Anybody remember that game much?
I know Amos said something
Very hard.
to help him remember this.
He beat some defensive back there that was supposed to be pretty good, but he caught 280 yards. That was amazing.
Larry, did you finish what you were saying? I didn't hear.
No, I was saying,
Amazing athlete.
Amos had sent me a text and said, I hope you remember that North Texas game because he was having trouble remembering. I said, Lord, I sat there and I tried to think. All I could remember was the year before they threw the ball a lot against us. And that game, you know, they come in there and they tried to run it a lot. We were able to stop them pretty good. I mean, 32, but just remembering a lot of it. No, those brain cells go. But I know there was a lot of their linemen looked like they were about 35 years old. Those guys coming out of there, ugly, big old linemen they had, and they were running the ball that year. Whereas the year before, they were throwing the ball more.
Yeah, they had a heck of a team the year before. That's for sure.
did Drew Pearson play for him?
Tulsa.
Tulsa.
Me and Joe Green.
Well,
Joe Green played with him.
I lost him.
Yeah.
I forget the receiver's name they had. He played with Pittsburgh.
That was Ron Shanklin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good.
Well, me and Joe Green played for North Texas State.
He did.
Not that year, maybe the year before.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was the year before.
He was 2 years before, but that's okay.
That was the year before was when I went in the huddle and Jay Huser was the tackle. And I said, Jay, you think you could block that guy? And he says, I'll tell you what, Gary, I'll play quarterback. You play tackle.
That's not bad.
Okay, the next game was October 3rd. It's another loss, believe it or not. And it was at Dayton.
Yeah.
And we lost. They beat us pretty good, 28-11. And again, that was I try to block out whenever we lose games, so I don't have any memory of that one. Does anybody recall anything that happened in the Dayton game?
You know
Yeah,
what?
it was-
We were, even though I was on offense, Dayton had a running back by the name of Gary Cousins.
Gary Cousins.
Very cousin.
Gary Cousins, I think, ran for 4,000 yards in that game.
Yeah.
I think he carried the ball 30 sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah, they had a cutback play that they kept pushing us to the right, or then all of a sudden they'd cut back, and then they'd go wide, and it was a disaster. In fact, I played against Cousins. He played for the Bears for a while. In fact, I tackled him once, and it was almost same thing as, I don't know if he knew who I was and I knew who he was, but the sucker tried to run over me. and I said, I got underneath him and made a good tackle, but I was thinking, that rotten sucker.
That's a pretty good memory.
Wow.
Here's another story. You'll appreciate, everybody will appreciate this story. On Sunday morning, Coach Corso called me to come over to his office. He was going to talk to me about something. I think I was going to be on his coach's show that week, and he wanted to talk to me about his coach's show. So while I was sitting out in that little cinder block locker room that we had. T.W. Alley was in his office.
Oh, boy.
T.W. Alley made a comment that sent shivers down my spine because he said, I've been too nice on these guys. I'm going to go back to guerrilla warfare this week. And I thought, oh my God, he thinks he's been nice. And I'll never forget that because I think that week was hell week for the offensive linemen and the tight ends probably.
Yeah. So thanks, Jim. So, you know, so we started the season 1-3, and then we turned it around. I know John came back. I don't know which game, John. Do you remember which game you came back as the starter, the
I came
quarterback?
back after playing because the North Texas game, I got a shoulder separation.
Really?
We had the crummy shoulder pads. It fell over my shoulder.
Yeah.
I ran into this
You had
guy.
Johnny
and fumbled the
Unitas'
ball,
pads.
hurt my shoulder.
So we were back at Cardinal Stadium, and we had Tulsa, and we beat Tulsa 14-8. And I do remember that was one of the games that Corso loved, that power pass play, and he threw me in. I'd been playing safety, I think, and Cookie was wide open in the end zone, and we hit him, and we were behind 8-7, and we won that game at the end. So,
That was a great play. The power pass play was our bread and butter all year.
Yep.
We loved that play.
Whenever you go in and call it, Cookie would light up like the 4th of July. He knew he just had his number dialed. But that was good.
You know, I told Gary when we were talking about this reunion meeting, I told Gary, he told me the power pass story, and in the 20 years I was a head football coach, we still ran the power pass.
Yep.
And it was almost like easy pickings touchdown every time we ran it near the goal line.
Yeah. So
Guys, remember?
Amos, that Drew Pearson was in Tulsa,
Quarterback.
and
Right.
he used to be a quarterback at 1st, and then they moved him to receiver,
Right.
and I was a quarterback, and then they moved me to safety,
Mhm.
and I had to guard that sucker. I tried to
Good luck.
I tried to switch with Dave Norris, and he didn't want any part of him either.
No thanks.
And one thing I remember about that game is, if you all recall, the old harness, the old snake I had to wear.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Keep my shoulder from
On your neck.
dislocating.
Yeah,
I blocked the pass, went in and went up my arms and blocked the pass. Shoulder went out. I go, oh, ran off the field, and they popped it back in, and hell, get back in there.
That's
Good old Bible.
Yeah.
That's Bible, baby.
Now the next week, you guys remember we drove over to Huntington, West Virginia, and Marshall had the nation's longest losing streak. Okay, at that time, and we didn't take them very seriously. And I do remember they had AstroTurf, and we had, I think maybe that was our first experience with AstroTurf.
I think it was.
Yeah. And they were lining up to kick a dang field goal at the end of that game from about 52 yards or 54 yards. And I was standing underneath the goalpost with the referee thinking this is not going to be good if he kicks this thing. And the guy said, he can't kick it. But I swear when that kid kicked that thing, it was high and dead center, and it just fell about a couple yards short of the goalpost. So that was my memory. How about anybody else?
Gary, looking back on that, after a couple weeks after the Marshall game, that's when Marshall's airplane went down.
No, the very next week.
Was it next week? Okay. I can remember thinking to myself, I kind of wish they would have made that field goal. You know what I mean? Because I think half the guys got killed on that.
I do remember they had a drill team. They set them down, those girls. Remember about 30 girls in their drill team. They set them right beside our bench.
Yeah.
And we were all going off and said, man, they got some good looking women over here. Maybe that had something to do with us about to lose that game.
Yeah. Anyway. I'm glad. I still feel bad for Marshall going down on that plane, but
Yeah, we all do. That took us to our knees. Now
wait a minute, let's go back a minute, because
okay.
correct me if my memory is wrong, but it seems like after the game, Coach had decided he was going to take us to a real nice place to eat dinner. And when we got off the bus, I think he gave us $10, and we were at a Kroger parking lot. And does that sound familiar to you guys? We went into a Kroger and we bought bologna and white bread and mayonnaise. You guys remember that? I remember
not
that
at all.
yesterday.
That
You
was
must have been
just
drinking,
offensive
Jimmy.
line.
You remember
Hey,
that?
guys, by the way, our memories are a little short. Wichita State was a team who had crashed in October, and then we played them later on. Marshall's team plane
Right.
crash didn't occur until
After.
November after our season.
Right.
And next weekend.
Bad results all around.
And I can't, I'm sure we've all seen that movie, We Are Marshall.
yeah.
To this day, I cannot watch the beginning of that movie. It still brings me to tears just watching it. Well,
Yeah.
because I can't watch the beginning of that movie.
Yeah, it does.
It's pretty sad.
Well,
Let's move
I do,
along.
I do remember Coach Corso wanted to punt, and he turned and said something to Scott Marcus. Scott had his shoes and socks on. He punted barefooted. And Scott looked at him. He goes, "I got my shoes on. I can't punt with my shoes on." And we sent Larry Hart in to punt, and he punted the ball down the field because he wasn't barefooted, so we just had to send somebody else in the game.
what a character.
Scott was a funny place kicker too.
Yeah, he was funny.
He kicked like a soccer style, but he kept his shoes. He had a square front shoe, so he would
Right.
turn his ankle, he would kick sideways with his foot would go straight.
Did he ever make a field goal? Did he ever make a field goal? I don't.
He must have. I don't know.
Brunizer.
I don't know. After the
Very
Florida
nice.
State game, I'm not sure we ever tried another field.
Yeah, we did.
I've reconnected with Scott quite often. I talk to him occasionally, and he is hilarious. He's just like he used to be, except all that hair he used to have. He's bald as a cue ball.
Oh,
Yeah, but he's the funniest guy. So he's one of the guys we definitely have to get back to this reunion. Okay, Halloween, we played Kent State. We won 14-13 on another power pass. Okay. And that was, I don't remember much about that game at all. All I remember is we won it. So on the last second or something like that. A cookie caught another touchdown.
It was a muddy ass field.
Yeah, it was muddy field.
Buddy Bill. They
You all
had
remember who the fullback was?
they had Nottingham,
Right.
and he ran about
Sure. Good
Yeah.
job, Larry.
through the line about 6 inches off the ground. I thought he took my bowels.
Well, who else played on that team? Nick Saban played on that team. He was
He's
a
a freshman. No.
But one of us probably knocked Nick Saban on his ass too.
Was that the game we played at in the afternoon on a Saturday or early?
That was Drake.
Oh, that was Drake. Okay.
How about Jack Lambert?
So the game, one of the biggest games of the year, the biggest game of the year, probably maybe one of the biggest games of our career was the Memphis game. And we all remember the great pregame speech that Corso put on us. I'd give anything to have that YouTubed or something. I thought if they don't open that door, all these linemen are going to run right through it. I've never been so high on without some help from some medication as I was going into that game. And I know all of you were too, but that was really a great experience. So what are some of your memories, guys?
I think that's the game he had Ron Thomas come out to help us.
Yes, he did.
He had him in the locker room. He was going to come out. We got down close to the goal line, and I was going to throw a pass, and he would jump up and get it. We're beating him, so he never had to play.
I forgot about that. You're right. I do
I
remember.
do remember that. That's a good
I remember
story.
practice. Mhm.
John Medea, do you remember the pregame warmups? I think it was this game. I'm sure it was. Corso had you standing in front of the Memphis bench and Johnny Copeland, all the wide receivers, and you were just throwing the ball as far as you could throw it, just in front of their coach, Mr. Spook Murphy, just to pay back from the last year.
Last time I saw Joe Perrella, he mentioned that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that happened.
You know, you threw like 15 balls about 80 yards. I thought he's not going to be any good for the game, but you were.
I
Hey,
tried
Amos,
to spin it out before in pregame.
Amos, do you remember intercepting that pass and you and I had both our hands on it? And
Yeah, I remember you setting my ass up and just using me as a target. Yeah, go ahead and take it, Amos. Bam, bam, bam.
so Amos and I intercept this pass together, and we're so keyed up. I'm pulling on it, he's pulling on it, and we're teammates for crying out loud. And we get spun around, and I'm looking back toward this guy that's getting ready to unload on Amos. So the next thing I know, I'm looking down at Amos, and his eyes have rolled back in his head. And I said, Amos, I am so sorry.
Well, here's a good story. This is a Larry Ball story, and Larry may not remember this, but I certainly do because Larry and I were really good buddies in college. So offensively, we weren't doing much in the first half, and the defense was playing hard and playing well. And the defense, maybe it was on Amos's interception. Defense came off the field, and Larry ran to me and grabbed me and got right in my face and said, "Damn it, you!" And it wasn't just "damn it"; it was several other words in there. "You guys got to score. We're stopping them, but you guys got to score." And I said, "Oh my God, sure, Larry, anything you want." But late in the game, we had taken the lead, and Memphis had scored a little bit, and Larry came running off the field, grabbed me and says, "You guys got to hold the ball. We can't stop them anymore." Sure, Larry, anything you want. Larry was, if you didn't know that, Larry was a little bit intense when he played football.
No.
You know, Larry, when they show pictures of you on there, you look so cordial and so pleasant. Nobody would have any idea that you would kill anybody for any reason at any time.
Yeah.
You know, I think the best thing about the Memphis State game was we had a packed stadium. I mean, I never saw the stadium as packed as it was that day for that Memphis State game. And both sides were filled up. Everybody was going crazy. I mean, I had a great game. I was thrilled to death with it.
Had people.
Hey, can I show you guys something?
Yeah.
My mom made a scrapbook from my days when I was a kid, all the way through U of L. When she passed away, my sister gave me the book. It's all our careers from whatever. I'm going to show you a picture. Hope you can see that.
Yeah.
That's Corso being lifted up, and the crowd's on the field after the game. Pretty cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, she did all this stuff, and when she passed, my sister gave me this album of all this stuff, and I'm trying to get all this history, but that's the only picture she showed because I was in it. That's it.
Yeah,
but that's where I'm getting my information from.
So we want to move on a
But
little
that
bit
was a hell
because
of a game.
Story. I got
we
one
don't
more.
want to take too long.
In the locker room, Gary. And you remember how palatial our locker room was, that beautiful cinder block locker room with 2x4s and nails on the wall. And
Wind blowing through the crack.
And that little radio, we had a little AM FM radio. I'm not even sure it was FM back then. A little radio. And as I was leaving the locker room, Coach was leaving right with me.
That's my dog.
I hear him. Corso was leaving with me, and the song that was on the radio as we were walking out of the locker room was California Dreaming. And that song, and that was right. We had to win that game to go to the bowl game. And I told Coach Corso, "No worries, Coach. That's a good omen right there."
But that really got us going, and we were real high. Just remember they had some speedster receiver, and they said, Corso told me, "Don't get beat deep." Norris and I were not even on the film. We were So anyway, we're gonna move through these next 2 or 3. So if the Cincinnati game, anybody have a comment about the Cincinnati game? We want to spend a little time, and this is gonna run on a little too long if we're not careful. So we want to talk about the
It
Pasadena
was
Bowl.
cold as hell. It was cold.
Hey, I'll tell you something about the Cincinnati game. Hey, I got something on the Cincinnati game. The last play of the game, they gave me the ball, but I mean, we were winning. So I got about 20 yards and I kind of slid down, you know. Coach Alley comes running out there like a madman and he starts swearing at me. What did you go down for? I said, hey, coach, the game's over, dude. Don't worry about it.
You might have fumbled.
I just remember there were no fans in the stands. It was cold.
Oh, it's the worst. Wet and cold.
It snowed, it sleeted, it
It was
wind.
ugly.
And this is, I don't know how many of y'all realize this, but that game we held, and I still think we do hold the NCAA record. And John will know this because he was the quarterback. We had the most fumbles ever in a game. There were 26 fumbles in that game. We had 11 and Cincinnati had 15.
No way.
Yes, that's an NCAA record for fumbles in one game.
So do y'all remember what they gave us? They brought us over to the locker room after the game.
Yeah.
They
Keg
brought
of
us this keg of nails,
Oh, yeah.
and we didn't even know we were playing for it.
Nobody told us.
Yep.
It was the first time.
First time we'd ever gotten it because we'd never beat Cincinnati.
I remember that. Yeah.
And they were Missouri Valley.
Yeah. And we gave it back to them the next year.
It wasn't my fault.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there. But I will say, let me just add quickly, I gave my right knee to the University of Louisville during that game. Thank you very much. I just got it replaced this year.
So the Drake game, November 21st, anybody?
That's the morning game. We played at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's right. We did. They gave us donuts for breakfast.
Green.
Now, Corso called that the breakfast bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I
because
think they had a little water
race
and tall.
It was Thanksgiving.
So that was our 6th victory in a row, by the way. And then the next one was at Wichita, and we beat them. But I just remember we were behind a good bit at halftime, and they had all that ceremony about the plane crash, and we were all on the field watching that before the game, and tears rolling down our cheeks, and you know, we'd tackle somebody and we'd help them up, and pat them on the butt, and say, "Good job, you're doing good." And we were down to 31 to something at halftime, or some number. I don't know what it was, 24 to nothing.
I got something, you know, Lee Corso, after that game when we won it, we ran in the locker room and you know, it's like, you know, whenever you win, you're real happy. And Corso looks at everybody. I don't know, you guys probably didn't catch this, but he goes, "God damn it." He said, "There was ghosts tackling us out there."
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That's typical Lee.
His halftime speech, if you weren't there, he's scared of hell. We're not playing a goddamn ghost. Get your ass out there. I remember, oh my. He went nuts. He was jumping up and down.
I remember that very well. And then it kind of snapped us back into it. We went out there and took care of business.
Well, they were playing with all freshmen, sophomore, and a few that were on the outside playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now,
Let me add one thing, Gary.
okay.
If you guys remember, when we played them, they had a lot of players who had elbow patches and things on their arms, and we didn't know why. And now we got that there for a while. We realized that that was one of the first AstroTurf fields in America. Is probably 10 or 15 years old. And there were big splotches of asphalt right showing on the field. That's why they had all the elbows covered up. Just playing on asphalt, basically.
It's a good memory.
Gary,
Hey, how in the world would you remember that?
I remember that being the worst field ever.
What's that all about?
That field was worse than the field.
There's an interesting aside to that game because after the Wichita plane crash, they canceled their next 2 games. And we had a bye on October 24th. They were supposed to play Arkansas on November 24th. And I think Arkansas was either number 2 or number 3 in the country.
Yep.
And Coach Corso was trying to make arrangements for us to play Arkansas during that bye week. And I don't know if you guys remember him telling us about this. And at the very end, it kind of fell through because Wichita State decided they were going to finish their season with their remaining players and their freshmen. So it would have been interesting for us to play the number 3 or 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
We would have killed them.
Yeah, we would have.
Okay, so the last game was the bowl game, and that was quite an experience for all of us. So I'm gonna open it up.
Before y'all start with the bowl, what was the most thing about that season though? What did U of L do in its history that it's never did before? Gary, you
Won
and I
its
talked
league.
about it. We won the conference.
Oh,
That's right.
And we were the
First time I'm looking at history.
Have you enjoyed your ring they gave you?
No, but you still have your watch.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I got to watch.
They
You
gave
have
us
to
a
watch,
watch.
Jim. Mine got stolen. But that was the past. You guys got to think about that. They make a big deal out of this ACC championship, this championship, this basketball championship. But that team, 1970 guys, is the first team that ever won a conference championship in the history of University of Louisville football.
Yeah, I think it got the whole thing started.
It sure in hell did.
Well,
And then
I'll
Corso
just give you
left and it was over.
here's a couple of my remembrances, and I'm going to tell you a story that very, very few people know about. Number one, I remember Coach Corso gave us a choice of either having all our meals together as a team, or he'd give us $75 to go out and take care of it ourselves. So we all voted.
Go to
$75.
Kroger.
What I remember is after 2 days, I was broke. I had no money whatsoever. Here's a little note, and the other neat thing was actually just going in the Rose Bowl Stadium and looking around and saying, "Oh my God, we're in the Rose Bowl. We're playing in the Rose Bowl Stadium." But here's a little known fact of this game, and Jessicaitis will attest to it. Jessicaitis and I and Kratzis got arrested before
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Again.
to the Universal Studios. And I'm trying to make this short. And I should have known better than to hang with Jessica Francis. But we decided that there was a TV show being filmed. I don't know if you remember or not, but it was called Ironside. And they were filming that show while we were doing our tour. We decided we were going to go down and become extras in that show. We jumped the fence, and we went down to where they were.
We jumped over the
They
fence.
were filming that. Jess, is this true or not?
Yeah, that is a true story.
Yes.
We jumped
And
over the
we got
fence.
arrested. And we take it to the
Kevin,
Universal Studios police station. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's the last game of my career. And I'm arrested. And I'll never get to play in the bowl game.
Hey, guys, Kazi was about to cry. No kidding. Me and Brad are sitting there kind of laughing. Oh, that was funny.
Wait a minute now. These were real policemen. They weren't
policemen.
actors. This was the real police department.
They
finally said, no, we're not going to arrest you. They took us up where you guys were watching some kind of show or something. And we said, please drop us off here. Let us walk in. I don't want coach to see us getting out of a police car.
So do y'all remember? You remember the name of that running back they had?
Leon.
Yeah, Leon Burns.
Leon Burns, Superman.
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 So this memory I have, we were in our goal line defense, and Dave pulled up as an outside linebacker. They just, instead of substituting for us, they just moved us up on the like a linebacker. So Jackson was right next to me, to my right. And so I said, Tommy, I think he's going to run over me this way. Why don't you give me a little help? And Jackson looked at me and said, I got him over here. I went, now let me think about this. You're an All-American. And then you got Amos, and he's All-American. You got Larry, he's All-American. You got Mattingly, he's All-American. And then you got Norris and me. What do you think they're going to do? And not to mention that when they came up the line, Superman's over there looking right at me. And so this big hole opens up. I'm on one end, Superman's on the other. And then I hit him as hard as I've ever hit anybody. And I was like a feather, and he just ran right over me and into the end zone for a touchdown. Jackson says, I'm sorry, it's my bad. I thought he was coming over here. I said, yeah, right. So anyway, so the worst part was that guy spray painted his shoes gold. You remember? Did y'all know that? He had gold shoes on that he used spray paint on because I had flecks of gold on my step.
He stepped on you.
He walked over me to go in the end zone. So, I
That's a good
remember that. I know we got to get Jessicaitis and John talking about that last play too. So any other during the game, any other memories anybody wants to talk about during that game before we
You saw the picture that Kaz sent out, and it's got Horace Jones and I standing there holding those boxes of kryptonite.
There you go.
That son of a gun was benching 550 pounds. He'd been in prison for 2 years. Hell, I could have hit the head with that box. It wouldn't have hurt him.
Well, Larry, if you recall, that really worked because he only scored 3 touchdowns that day.
Yeah, he only had 200 yards rushing.
Yeah. I mean, just think if we didn't have the kryptonite, what he'd have done.
Really.
That whole trip. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Stuff.
Hey, John Medea,
Yeah,
would you lead us through that last play from your standpoint?
well, we were probably on about the
And Jess.
40-yard line. And I threw Jess a screen pass. And he took off one way, got shut off. So he turned around, go around the other way. And him and Cookie hooked up on that pass. And everybody thought it was a touchdown. It was
Yep.
2 forward passes.
Yeah,
It took him a long time to figure out that was illegal.
Yeah, I thought we won the game. I swear I thought we'd won the
So
game.
did I.
Yeah.
The play I remember after that, I tried to hit Larry hard in the post, and I threw it high. He was kind of open, so he might have caught it, but I threw it high. That's what I remember.
Yeah. How about hey,
No,
Tom?
God, I remember that last play. But I remember the play too. Lee Corso came up to me before that play and said, look, you got to get out of bounds. So as soon as I caught it, I couldn't get out of bounds, and I didn't want the time to run out. So what I did, I just did what I tell you why I did that, because I played so much, football in my yard with my brothers and, and the neighbors, that anything goes, and at the time, it just seemed like it was a good thing to do. And that's why I let it go. That was, I was a terrible passer too. Let me say this.
Not that fast.
I could throw that pass again for $1 million. It was just a miracle pass. And I tell you, even to this day, a lot of people still remember that if they're loyal U of L football fans. You would be surprised how many people that I still meet when they see my name, they say, did you play football for U of L and you threw that pass? So, it's got a good PR for me, but I kind of wish it would have went a little different, but you got to take what you get.
Yeah. I remember Joe Welch intercepting a pass and ran for a touchdown. The whole length of the field.
He did that was a heck of a play, really.
Yeah.
Joe Welch was a good player. Is Joe still?
I talked to him the other day. He
Good.
He's doing fine. He's doing fine.
Good. That's a good deal.
So I know our equipment engineer had a memory or two about Pasadena. From your standpoint, would you share with us?
Sure. I tell you what I remember is as soon as we found out that we were going, everybody on the team grew a mustache. We thought we were rock stars since we were going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
I remember when we went there, and y'all talk about Coach Corso getting upset that first practice, and when we had that first practice, y'all were out there doing calisthenics, and you couldn't finish them because you were out of breath. Because the night before lasted a little bit longer than normal, and Corso walked in and he said, "It smells like a brewery in here, Edlin." And I went, "Why does it have to be my fault?" So and I guess he assumed that I went and got all the alcohol for everybody. So I know he was at least partially right.
Partially.
But I tell you what I remember at the very end when somebody mentioned that it took a long time for them to make the decision. My memory is that the guy on the downs marker, that they went to him as the alternate official to make the final determination. And Larry Ball was furious, and as soon as that official made the call that it was a double forward pass, Larry took off towards the downs marker fella. And I tried to hold Larry back, and it was like Gary had said earlier, like a feather, trying to hold it. I didn't have any luck holding Larry back. I never did. When Larry made up his mind he was going, he went.
Do you remember that, Larry?
I remember.
I was after him. I knew he was cheating us.
Amos, what about you, buddy? What's your recollection?
I tell you what is, we had wives with us at that trip, and we all went out together. And I remember we went to some liquor store and everybody was buying cheap Ripple wine and stuff. I said, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, it was pretty ugly. But we went down to the coast, and that it was a pretty cool thing for all the wives to do it. I think Ruth was there too, wasn't she, Dave?
Yep, she sure was.
Yeah.
Susie was there.
You know what? U of L, in my opinion, did a really good thing that year. We only had, I think, 13 seniors on the team. And I don't know about everybody else, but, mine were from Louisville, and Amos, maybe, well, you weren't quite a senior, so I don't know. They allowed the parents to go on the team plane out there, which was pretty daggone neat for the seniors anyway.
Right.
Now, I didn't see them out there hardly at all.
We were busy practicing, right?
Busy practicing. I do recall that one night we were riding around in Hollywood and stopped at a red light, and up pulls this big old limousine, and in the back seat was Leslie Nielsen, the Naked Gun guy. Not for a while yet, but he was a young star at the time. He waved at us. We waved back. That was a highlight.
Well, that's good. Well, listen, I know this. Is Matt still on, or Matt, are you still on?
Well, Gary, before we break, let's take one more minute and kind of wrap this up, and then we'll let Matt take over. Okay. I just have a few notes, and I went through some things today, and I want everybody to appreciate how really good we were, and how many really not only good football players, but how many really good guys we had on the team. Here's just a few things, and I don't know how many of you all realize this. We had 6 All-Americans on our team: Jackson, Medea, Barnes, Gaddy, Wolke, Brinkman, Horace Jones. Horace Jones, I don't know if you know this, played in the North-South All-Star game that year. We had 7 players that played in the NFL. 3 players played in multiple Super Bowls. 1 player made All-Pro. Several players still hold records. Cookie Brinkman still has the record as the longest punt. Greg Campbell, longest punt return for a touchdown. That was against Memphis State, by the way. And Larry Ball has a 95-yard interception for a touchdown. That is still a school record. Yeah. Wow. We do have the NCAA record, which is not the best one to have, for the most fumbles in a game, 26. We also are 4th in the country in allowing the fewest rushing yards in a game. And that was minus 19 yards rushing against North Texas. That's an incredible record. We hold the school record for 3 touchdowns for interceptions. Joe Welch holds the school record for a touchdown interception for most touchdown interceptions in a season. Bill Gaddy is 9th in career rushing. Gaddy has multiple rushing records. Gaddy and Tom Jessikaitis are 20th for having 2 100-yard rushing games in one game. That was against Wichita, by the way. Medea is still 5th, even though the football played today is so much different than the way we played it in 1970. John Medea is still 5th in all-time wins as a quarterback at U of L. That's pretty amazing. Cookie Brinkman is 5th for receiving yards. Larry Hart is 3rd in all-time receiving per catch. These are amazing records. Gary Barnes and Cookie Brinkman still rank in the top 10 for receiving touchdowns. Bill Gaddy, Tony Burdock are 2nd in rushing and receiving yards in one game. That was in Kent State. Scott Marcus and Cookie Brinkman are third in most punts in a game. They had 11 against Drake and North Texas. Greg Campbell holds records. Jackson is fifth. Paul Mattingly has records. And for those of you who had to chase Howard Stevens around when he was practicing punt returns and kickoff returns, you know how many records Howard Stevens still holds. So although he wasn't officially a member of our team, I think most of us still consider him a member of our team.
That's great, Cass. Thanks.
Interesting,
for the
yeah.
stats.
Good stuff.
Dennis,
Kaz.
thanks for putting all this together. You did such a great job on that. I've never seen anybody has so much attention to detail.
A labor of love, guys, a labor of love. Love you
Appreciate
guys.
All you guys did.
Anybody else has, please speak
Yeah,
up.
I like to say thanks to Kaz. He did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
I know he did a lot of work, and thanks.
Absolutely.
It's been fun.
It's a shame that this COBA has screwed everything up, not only in our personal lives, but in our reunions and in the world in general. It's a shame, but we'll live through it. We'll get better. We'll get stronger. But we'll remember this 70 team, because that's what kicked it all off.
Really?
The guys before us, I mean, you guys didn't, I mean, you were camping going, oh my God. Tom Jackson and I went to high school together for a little bit. We talked about that. What the hell are we doing there? I swear. John was my roommate. And I got to show you guys something. You think this is crazy. Remember those gorgeous locker rooms we had back then next to the street school? Do you remember?
Yeah.
When they
They
carried
had
you
those
out
giant
there through
roaches.
that shower? I'm going to show you one thing that nobody here has got.
Okay, what you got?
You got that trophy, right?
I got the trophy.
Yeah, here it comes. What's that?
Looks like a big piece of cheese.
What is that?
Rock.
Piece of concrete.
It's a rock.
Part of the cinder block.
When I went by, no, this is the locker room.
When
They knocked
tore
it
down
down. I was
Parkway
at the
Field.
street school, and I said, "Let me have a piece of this." That's it. This is
maybe
a
you
rock. I
kept the
gave one to
grass
Tommy.
cut.
I gave Corso's got one and Jackson's got one, but they tore it all down, saying, "Geez, oh man." But anyway, look what they got now. You know where it started? Where did that start, boys? This University of Louisville field they got now. It started with this team.
It did.
That was a tradition that kept on going, even with us, John, even 72. It went downhill, but they picked it up. But then it's unbelievable in 50 years what that school's gone through.
Yeah, it is.
And this was a start.
The facilities
And it's
are
all
amazing.
in all of us.
I'll tell you, Corso saved the whole program.
Yeah, he did.
He did. They might have dropped football. My brother played at the University of Detroit. They dropped football his senior year. He transferred to Cincinnati.
Yep.
Still talk to him?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a defensive back. He went to Cincinnati 1 year. He had 6 interceptions 1 year. He was a pretty good ball player.
Yeah.
And, you know,